Hey.
Hello, welcome. We're doing a kind of video, so we're videoing it as an experiment, so it's kind of like, but don't think you're not in the picture is the thing, because it's one of those 360. Yeah.
What disclaimer
So actually, you think it might be focusing on me, it's actually like just as much in focus, so picking your nose. Let's just in twos, just while we're waiting for the last few people to arrive. They don't want to have a discussion about that.
Yeah. Twos or threes then?
Well, you need to be at least two. Another 2 minutes. You can break away and you can discuss that. Do you want to join these guys?
Yeah, I'll share when she's
Yeah. It varies.
Too much complexity, right?
Chris, do you want that one as well? Do you want that one again over there?
Yeah.
You can tell because of the flashing light over from that side.
Okay, but not every 5th minute or whatever.
It shouldn't be, no.
Oh, yeah, great.
You're all on your own.
Okay, well, we'll make it start. Do you guys want to move over here a bit? Need to be sort of focused over here. So thanks all for coming. I'm Chris, this is Carl, we're Agile coaches. We're part of the Agile Way, which is part of digital transformation. And our mission, you might say, is to nudge the organisation into adopting Agile practices. And so as part of that, we're doing an experiment, which is a kind of 30-minute learning sessions sort of in the corridor to see whether that helps or hinders whether people find that valuable, right? So this one, hopefully you're here to learn about Scrum. It's very specific about one particular methodology. It's not a big picture about Agile. It's about what is Scrum, and hopefully you'll get some idea of what that is in the next 30 minutes. So, just want to sort of zoom out though from Scrum and just talk a little bit about Agile in general before we zoom into Scrum. I kind of pointed 3 things as being sort of themes, clusters of ideas around Agile, the sort of context. One is something about connecting to customers. So it rears its heads in different ways, customer-centric, that kind of thing. That's kind of often the blurb or the way it's formulated in this organisation. The other is something around seeing work as iterative learning. So if you don't see work as iterative learning, Agile is going to make no sense to you. If you don't see that it's all about taking a step, finding out whether that works, doing more of it if you liked it, less of it if you didn't like it. If work doesn't seem that way to you, if the work is very repetitive, for example, or there's other kind of barriers to taking a step and learning, then the whole Agile thing just won't make any sense. The Agile toolset is about this kind of work. So if your work is not like that, it's like, well, Agile's kind of not for me kind of thing. And then the other thing that kind of comes out in an Agile context is something about focusing on teams, and teams being the unit of performance, not the individual, and particularly keeping teams together for a longer period is kind of the way that we get high performance, basically. So those are kind of the 3 areas of clusters of ideas that the whole Agile thing is based on. and we're going to delve into Scrum, which is one particular formulation of those ideas. Right? Now, has anybody worked in a Scrum team? Just check. One person. Great. Okay, leveraging your experience. So Scrum is something that was invented in the 90s. It's a very simple framework. It's a kind of methodology for how to work together with one team. So what Scrum says is, if you can't do it with one team, it's probably not worth doing. That's at least within that model, right? So it's not a multi-team model, it's a one-team model for high performance. And there's certain things that it says are good if you've got a one-team model, right? So who's got number one? What's number one? What does it say on your...
Deliver at least monthly.
Deliver at least monthly. So get a team together, deliver something of value at least monthly. Not part of a thing. Don't just design it and then, the design's done and that's the output. Actually do the thing that's valuable. Now, Scrum originally was focused on software development teams. It will work for any kind of work which is iterative learning, and more people are using it for some people are using it for HR departments, for example, or it's expanded beyond software. But a lot of the terminology and the examples come from software development. But that is not limited to that. But if you can't deliver something valuable within a month or less, then Scrum isn't the right thing for you. But I caution you about thinking whether you can or you cannot deliver something in that time frame. What did you guys think about that? What did you
Do you want to read out
discuss?
the statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Teams who don't really know what is needed or how to meet the need are best served by trying to deliver something quickly, say within a month, and getting feedback. Our initial response on that is we totally disagree. You need to know what you want to deliver to the customer, delivering the expectation for the customer.
Okay, so your assumption will be the customers know what they want. Is that people's experience?
They never know what they want. That's why they get sold useless things.
They know, yeah, they normally know what they don't want when they see it, right? And that's, I guess, the fundamental assumption is iterative learning. There's limited value in trying to ask the customer what they really want. There is some more value in trying a bit. Was this what you wanted? Oh, now I see it. It's not really that. Okay, so it's a bit down this direction, and they're suggesting for a team, you don't want to go around that loop every 5 seconds. You want, sort of a month, a couple of weeks is a good rhythm of taking a step and trying out. You don't want to wait 12 months to find out whether this is a good idea or not. You want to, less than a month, a couple of weeks is probably becoming industry standard, I would say. So the notion is, that's the kind of assumption of Scrum, is that that's the kind of sweet spot for a team, is that learning route being at least, less than a month kind of thing. But to your point, there may be certain things whereby you need to ask the customer because you cannot learn. An example would be if you're building a bridge, for example. You don't pour the concrete in one place and then say, was that right? Oh no, it's not right. And then, you sort of, the cost of moving the bridge is too high. So this works very well if the cost of kind of redoing it can be made to be smaller, right? And maybe acceptable. Okay, who has number 2? So that's kind of deliver at least monthly is kind of part of this idealized model. And if you find yourself in a team that's not doing like that, then the question is, what steps can I take to deliver at least monthly? Who's got the second one? What did you say that?
Small teams perform best when they're not too large, say less than 11 people.
Do people buy that? Like big teams, big nightmare, everybody's spending all the time finding out what the other guys are doing and so on and so forth. So Scrum is suggesting there's a sweet spot, it's less than 11 people basically.
Is that 11 people in the same location?
Okay, good question. Scrum does not say anything at all about location, but I would say it's a general agile practice that if you have distributed locations, that teams don't perform as well as if they're sitting together. I think that's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But there are many different trade-offs in. So if you really want high performance, have the team sit together. But you're trading off other things. Perhaps you can't recruit in the local market all the skills necessary. In some areas you just can't find Java developers or whatever. So you recruit them somewhere else, and there's cost factors. A lot of the offshoring is driven by massive differential in cost between, say, Indian software engineers and European software engineers or whatever. But if you're optimizing for high performance, sit together. But we're not just optimizing for that. So make the choice effectively. Yeah. So small teams, less than 11 is kind of the rule of thumb. If you find yourself bigger than that, break it up. That will be the thing. Or work out how to get all the skills you need within a small team. Because you might say we need 20 people because it's so specialist. That's very common, right? Well, okay, you have to make some choices then. Cross-skilled people, simplify your architecture, or simplify the problem so you don't need so many skills. Scrum puts the squeeze on you in this respect. Say you want high performance, small teams. Who's got number 3?
This is no dependencies.
Great.
Teams perform best when they have no dependencies.
Yes, kind of no-brainer, right? A little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of dependency screw you, waiting on somebody else, and then you have a meeting with them, and they're on holiday, and they've got other stuff to do for other people, and Scrum says, yeah, don't do that. If you want high performance, don't have dependencies. Have all the skills you need to do the job within the team. That's a model for high performance. And again, when Scrum teams start, they're probably not doing that. So the question is, how do I take a step closer to eliminating dependencies? That's kind of the model, right? So no dependencies. Who's got number 4?
Teams perform best when one person who is close to the team decides on priorities.
Right. Do people buy that one?
Someone has to decide priorities.
Yeah, somebody has to decide priorities, but often it might be a committee, or you're not even sure, and you ask somebody, and they ask somebody else senior, and the message comes back, and takes a long time, and all that kind of dynamics, right? If you want high performance, have somebody who's really close to the team, sees them every day, kind of close to the team, who's just deciding we do A, not B first, kind of thing. That's clearly a model for high performance. And then when you've got a problem, you can go back and say, was it this or this you meant, and you get some clarification. Anybody know who that person's called in that person is called in Scrum?
Scrum Master.
Close. The other role. There's one other role defined. Yeah, something owner. Product owner. Yeah. So it's got a special name. Product owner decides what the priorities are. They're responsible for deciding. They can consult on other people, but they have the last word. Really tricky having somebody who works daily with a team who's got enough authority to then decide. That's really tricky. Scrum puts the squeeze on you. That's the model. Want high performance. That's what.
So they're not part of the team.
Okay, really good question actually. So what Scrum says is there's kind of inner team which it calls the development team, which is full of team members, and then there's an outer team which is a Scrum team, which is the team members plus the product owner who's prioritizing, plus the Scrum Master. And the Scrum Master's only job is to make sure you're doing Scrum. That's it. If you're doing Scrum, there's nothing for that Scrum Master to do, right? But as you can see, doing Scrum's kind of difficult, right? So it's a bit of a lifetime of carnage being a Scrum Master normally. So
there's nothing to say the Scrum Master can't be participating in the team.
yes, so that's true. Scrum Master is a role, so you can combine it with something else, like, for example, being a team member. Yes. So, generally speaking, it's not advisable to combine product owner with being something else, because you're deciding and then doing, and that muddies the water, as you could expect. Okay? Who's got, one prioritizer, that was right. Who's got the last one, number
Number
5?
five.
Yeah.
No special roles.
Yeah.
Teams perform best when they decide within the team who does what, and this is not externally imposed by job roles, political structures, etc.
So do people buy that? So the notion is you put the people into the team, and the team can organise themselves around the work. So it's not like, yeah, I'm in the team and I'm the tester, so I do the testing work kind of thing, because my boss is, the head of the testing, and he wants me to work on testing kind of thing. It's like, I'm in the team, I may have testing skills, and they may be useful now or not useful, but I just do whatever's necessary to achieve the team's goals. And if there's no testing work to do, then maybe I will end up doing something else. So I might not be as good at that as doing testing. But the classic way of fixing that historically has been to reassign me. So I will be a testing expert, I'm in the team for a few weeks. When there's testing work, there's no testing work, I'll go somewhere else. This focus on team is very important. So in the Scrum world, it's like, no, keep the team together. Teams don't perform well for the first few weeks or the first few months of being together. It's more like years of being together when you really get to the sweet spot. So keep the team together, but the consequence of that is people have to be a bit of master of one trade and jack of others, turn their hands to whatever's needed at the time, a little bit, right? Doesn't mean they don't have deep expertise in some areas, but it does mean the whole kind of career, the whole specialism thing is a little bit more blurred. It's called people T-shaped individuals. People are sort of deep in one area that can turn their hands to things, depending on what the demand is at the time, right? That's the concept of Scrum, right? So within the team, we don't, the only role is team member. There isn't a tester, there isn't a developer, there isn't a whatever you would have, depending on what your work is. I'm using very software development oriented terms. Yes. Well, they're not generalists because they may be specialists in the sense that they have deep testing skills, but it doesn't mean they're a tester, if you see it. They're just a team member with deep testing skills. You see, the subtlety is slightly different, right? So, and of course, I mentioned there are slightly special roles. The product owner or the Scrum Master are a special role, so that's kind of not quite right. But within the inner team there's no special roles. So this is why it's hard. All these things are difficult to achieve, right? But the great thing is, I guess I'd say it's supposed to be hard, right? That's the thing to take away, right? It's supposed to hurt doing Scrum. And the thing is, if a team adopts Scrum and is doing it well, the rest of the organisation is going to feel a bit of the pain. So if you're not in a Scrum team and you work with one, and you, for example, a great example would be you do some sort of performance testing or security testing or something, and previously the team had always been delivering something every 6 months, so you had a month to do that kind of stuff. It fitted well, you've optimised it well, you've got some suppliers maybe doing it, everything's working great, and then suddenly the team said we're adopting Scrum, okay, and we're going to try and do something, not just at least monthly, but say every 2 weeks, that's our goal. Every 2 weeks we're going to do something, get it live. Your bit, your performance testing bit, cannot take a month anymore. It has to maybe take a day or something. So how do we make it take a day? You need to change. And over time, I want to bring that competence within the team so that within the maximum 11 people, we can do that so we don't have a dependency on this external thing. And the Scrum Masters, their role is to sort of facilitate that happening. They're warriors. They'll come out and try and beat the rest of the organisation into a shape that supports this way of working. And it'll be a conflict, and it will go on and on and on for a very long time because there are levels of doing this kind of thing. And that's the message of Scrum, you might say. It's a framework for improvement. I think this is an intuitively good model. I don't see any of these things here that I've said, people are like, oh, no, that's not a good idea. If people get that this is a good idea, it's just very difficult to actually do, particularly when you're set up in some other way to have done it, some other way, governance, all these kind of things come into play, and that's the battleground, you might say, because this gets results. And I think, it's been going so long now, like I say, Scrum was invented, I think, in '98, but there's so many case studies of people having, got results from that. I think it's kind of, whereas you can never do the same initiative twice with the same people and do it with Scrum or without Scrum, so it's not scientifically proven. It does seem like the evidence is pretty overwhelming to say, it does get results, and people do like working like that. You know, if you found yourself in a team that had all this stuff going on, you'd actually like that. You know, you could actually see, you could talk to the person who was prioritising. You could, you know, you get your answers quick. Everybody involved is sort of near, you know, within the 11th thing. You know, you can do good work and you can enjoy working that. There's nobody outside telling you what you have to do, what you don't have to do. The team can decide. You know, there's a closeness and people like it basically. I guess people who don't like it, perhaps the people who are outside the team that have to change as a result of, you know, adopting this new way of working. Right? Just to be clear, when people say they're doing Agile, surveys say 85% of them are doing Scrum or Scrum plus something else. So this Scrum idea is massively dominant in the Agile space, right? It's the one thing that, you know, is pretty much universally being done. But be careful, I guess, because like elsewhere, if you come across a Scrum team here, they're probably not doing it, right? They may have some. So Scrum talks about all kind of practical things like, you know, have a daily stand-up, 15 minutes to coordinate the team's work. 15 minutes, you get together, you coordinate the team's work for the next 24 hours. Fine. Just because you're having daily stand-ups doesn't mean you're doing Scrum. You know, these things are the hard things. This is where I would look to see whether you're really doing Scrum, right? So we're probably not doing it yet. Even if we have teams that are called Scrum teams, we probably, you know, just started doing the ceremonies and so on and so forth. So expect a bit of pain, I'd say, is the main message. Have people experienced pain already working with Scrum teams or not yet? Please. Okay, if you want to learn more, there's a URL there, tinyurl.com/agileway. If you go there, depending on how you like to learn, specifically about Scrum, you will find a video or two, you will find an article or two, and you will find a book or two. And the books you can get by Safari books, so it doesn't even cost you anything. So if you want to learn more about what Scrum is, that's the place to go. We have 8 minutes for questions. Any questions?
Scrum team, is it only working on one deliverable?
It's working whatever the product owner decides they're working on, right? I guess, again, there are other frameworks that are multi-team frameworks, which are less popular and less mature. So, you know, you could have different teams working on different things, right? But yeah, the product owner decides what the team's working on. They're like the CEO of the team in a way. They're ultimately responsible for getting value.
Does Agile have its own framework for, you know, managing the project lifecycle, let's say?
No.
So how can you be accountable from an audit perspective for what you're doing?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that. And the question is, what accountability do you need? And I guess there's no standardized answer to that. But I will pick up on projects. So there's no project here. There's a stable team, and you feed it work. Right? So this isn't a temporary organisation. This is a sort of permanent team, because that's where you get to stability and improvement. The problem with projects is that the learning's very weak. You form the team, you do some stuff, and then at the end you do a lessons learned, and who benefits from that? Nobody, because the team's not there anymore, right? So projects are a bit of an agile anti-pattern, right? They're the opposite of, you know, projects are not kind of aligned to this kind of iterative learning to some extent. So it doesn't mean they don't work on different things. You know, the product owner could decide to work in this area and then move on to work in a different area. So it doesn't mean that, you know, the work doesn't change, but the team doesn't change. We talk about bringing the work to the people rather than the people to the work. But your question about audit's a good one.
I don't understand. When an auditor comes in and wants to see the evidence,
what kind of evidence of what? So,
well, they ask for things like that you've you know, got sign-offs for specs, that you've got test scripts signed off.
Yeah. Okay. So they ask that you're following your current process as defined, which has those sign-offs defined in it.
Yeah.
So that would imply changing a process somehow if you were to bring that inside the team. So there could be a different process from what we have today that doesn't have those sign-offs or has them in some other form that's within the team. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly my point, is that we would need something different. And what concerns me is that PMO are going to carry on being PMO, doing PMO stuff.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be able to give them what they want because we're doing it this way.
There are ways, I'm just interested, but there is other replacement artifacts, like for example, which we haven't got time for us to touch on, which is around user stories. So we would still have relevant documentation, we still capture it in a way which you can therefore still satisfy governance, compliance, regulatory type of stuff. So you can still evidence things. It's actually at a higher frequency, but that's some of the devil of the detail below this. There is stuff there, and there's various different ways in which you can make it work. So it still addresses all those needs. But we can catch up about that afterwards, yeah.
But like I say, the framework needs to be changed to what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yes, it does.
It does, yeah.
So what normally happens, at least experienced elsewhere, is you have to have a few Scrum teams causing a lot of pain before the pain's visible enough to change it, if you know what I mean. So, for example, we've been talking to PMO here, but they don't know how to change because they don't know the exact needs of the Scrum team. So you need, it's sort of, there has to be a bit of pain in order to create some momentum to change stuff, kind of thing. It's the common pattern that you see elsewhere, which is why I keep saying expect some pain and expect it to go on. Thank you for the question. Good question. Other questions?
Well, I've not experienced any pain yet.
Okay. So we're right at the beginning of it. We're right at the beginning of the journey. Teams that, I mean, also often.
No inkling of anything.
Sorry?
I've had no inkling of anything coming.
Right.
So.
Okay. Perhaps you've not worked in areas where they've sort of. I mean, if I look at where we are as a company, most Scrum teams we have, are in Eldergate doing development. And that's so if you've not been interacting with them, you won't have seen. But they're tearing their hair out because of whatever. The engineering's not in place to allow this delivery at least monthly. The governance is not in place. They're like, it seems like we got the code ready in October, but it's still not live. That kind of thing. But if you're operating to this model, it's kind of like
But you need
not
all parts of the organisation to work in that fashion.
Yes.
Your delivery is dependent on other sub-teams.
Yes, exactly. It's not really a technical problem. Right. It's not an engineering problem to say. It's
all parts of the organisation.
Yeah.
Is that us?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
supporting the way of working.
This is the first bit of Agile I've ever.
Right.
Did you not make pizzas?
No, mine was cancelled because there was too much work to do. Rescheduled in the new year, which is never come. So I thought I'd come along to this and have a look.
Yeah.
No, I just don't feel anything coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've not experienced that yet?
No,
well,
at all.
You'll be slightly oriented to that.
Maybe I'll be legacy.
When somebody asks you to do the thing that took a month, now it needs to take 2 hours, then you'll be like, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, but okay, all right, fine.
So how is a new Scrum defined?
A new Scrum team? That's a bit arbitrary, really. As, a team decides we're going to do Scrum and get some support for that.
No, but the team, there's a piece of work.
Yeah.
Who gets that information that there's a piece of work coming along?
Yeah.
We need to
form a Scrum team
this to deliver this.
Yeah.
Who, you got this iterative learning.
Yeah.
So someone's gone out and spoke to customers and got the needs. Whose responsibility is that before they decide we're going to use Scrum to?
Yeah, good question. So we don't have a standardised answer to that.
Which team in Project Man does that?
I see what you mean.
Or sorry, Santec.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's evolving actually. I don't think there's a clear answer to that. It's different in different areas, I think. It's kind of not standardised.
See, all of this makes sense, but in the context of where we all probably sit, we can see how we work within our own self, but it's the external factors which are people around us, like PMO and everybody else.
Yeah. But it's always the other guys that's the problem, right? That's
the, they all got to buy into it, and until they do, then we can't operate that way.
Yeah, so why do we need to do this as a business? Why does this make sense to, that's the real question. We've not really sort of covered exactly like why is it important we become agile, and why is this a good tool for that? That's something we all need to solve.
I've seen management getting a taste of this.
Yes.
They are.
Yes, we're starting management training next week actually.
Have they been told that this is where we're going to work? I mean, to break up the structure that we have now.
It's going to take time, right? Organisational structures will change, and responsibilities will change, and it doesn't come all at once. It comes in layers. You get a little understanding, and then something changes, and that ossifies for a bit.
The question is this an option, or is this going to happen? So you get a manager who's out there.
Yeah.
Are they going to be removed?
Well, I suspect so ultimately, but over what time frame? Like 10 years, 20 years, or 2 years, or 1 year, or 6 months? I don't think that's the case within the next, months, if you see what I mean. But this is the whole industry working on it. This isn't new to us. This is how everybody.
Terminology, the methodology is being around for many years.
Yeah.
The terminology is new to this.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Most people have worked in this manner for different projects.
Are you Santander or you're external or?
Personally, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm external, right?
So does Santander have an agile strategy in place? Have they got anything written down that says this is what we're going to do?
For our approach?
This is how we're going to move forward. This is what is.
I think
bits and pieces.
No, I think we've got this kind of digital transformation strategy. So the first strategy is sort of move everything to the cloud. The first pillar is move everything to the cloud. The second thing is make things cloud native, and the third pillar is being agile. So the third pillar, might say, is the least thought out of those three things, right? Because we've at least from an engineering, at least from an engineering perspective, we've kind of got our hands full, kind of nailing the other two a little bit, right? So this is at a not such a level of maturity as the other two in that sense. We've kind of run out of time then. So we've got to talk next week at the same time, and also Monday at the same time, about Kanban, which is something that can be used by almost every team. So this is for teams that can do this learning and achieve it. Kanban is you might say, a competing or complementary approach that's, again, we've got 30 minutes on that if you find that interesting. Other than that, thanks for your time. If you've got other questions, Carl and I are just lounging around here for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Don't forget the URL if you want to learn more.
It's not really new though, is it? I mean, Volvo were doing this sort of thing with cell working when they were building cars.
Yes. Well, I mean, as I was saying, you can look at the Lego manual, they invented it, right?
You're right. In one sense, there's nothing new, right? You always find the ancient Greeks and the Romans were always doing it, but it's the way it's packaged and the momentum in the industry that's going new, you might say. I mean, everybody's going this direction. Everybody, this is
because we need to move a lot faster.
Yeah.
So I'll tell my missus to do the othering.
Which room? All of them.
And what did she say to that?
Yes, Master.
I'll make sure I edit that out of the video.
Are we going to cover like Jira and all that type of stuff?
We could do if you want to like something on tools, we could consider that. I mean, generally we don't focus on tools because it's not about tools.
Well, that's the tool that I believe everyone's going to be using.
Yeah, for sort of.
And Confluence and that.
Yeah, it's a sort of very powerful kind of issue management system. The Confluence as well. Both simple tools that a lot of teams use. But actually, as an organisation, we've deliberately said we're not standardising on the tools. Again, because that's a dependency. If you don't want to use Jira, want to use it.
Well, it should be down to the communities.
Yeah.
So what they appropriate.
Yeah, because you end up then, you have to go make if it's not actually suited to your needs, then you end up.
Yeah, but you can see resources as well inside that. How many different deliveries you're on.
Yeah.
Because some people are going to be doing. There's not enough people to fit into every type of thing that's trying to be delivered, and they'll need a specialist of this type, that type in all of these different teams.
Yeah.
Because they'll be reliant on specific people or a person, but that team might be a small team, so he might be stretched, and then that team will say, well, we need to deliver it for them, but he's also working on these other 8 for that team. Because we haven't, how are you saying you're putting all these different teams together?
Yeah.
In some areas, there's not enough people, specialists, to drop into each team, so they'll be spread across.
There are ways in which we work with, from what Chris says is a great example of some of the pain points. There are ways in which we work with existing specialisms, but obviously, to our point, we can't go, I know someone phrased it as generalists, we're not talking about generalists, because everyone gravitates towards a certain way. I gravitate towards being an ex-engineer, so I'm a coder, right? I'm pretty sure the quality of my stuff without QA was pretty poor, right? But actually, in fact, it's the way in which you embrace that within the culture of the team. So you still have people gravitate more towards being a cutter of code, and those who are more on the testing side, it's how you formulate that as a team.
We're missing
this point. The person who, or the people who are deciding what's going to be delivered and how it's going to be delivered. So it comes into here because these people up here presently are a bit unsure of what.
And why do you think that is?
They don't know the real world out there anymore.
A lot of the issues are upstream.
Yeah.
They tend to dictate how we should operate, tend to dictate the outputs that we should produce, but they've got no idea how it's actually done.
Yeah, too far from the work. Management too far from the work.
So like we're terraforming new virtual machines into the cloud or something like that. I think it's a cake to integrate that into AWS, into Azure,
which is not.
and it isn't.
No.
Yeah.
And you know, some of the tools that they want to use that can't be used in the same way across the different types
the
of
agile
platform
test and learn mindset
different cloud
needs to be
providers work
adopted
in
there.
different
So
ways.
we have a hypothesis that it'll be quick.
And they want like portals to automatically.
How do we find out whether that's true or not? Quickly and cheaply rather than
it can't because the inputs have got to be
and then be
but they don't want to. They think that's too complex with the inputs, but you can't get the output without the input.
And
they won't listen.
It's an interesting one because, I mean, for example, if you pick that example, that pipelines, because
It's very well.
involved cloud-centric organisations where we can deploy to any given cloud
yes,
stack.
it's
not easy
some of the
the
underlying
way in which
principles.
I did it. I mean, I like Ansible. So I'd say, right, use Ansible. But if you take it back to actually working on with
underlying principle there.
I'd be like, hey guys, I empower you to do that.
We've automated it all through Ansible.
It's that kind of thing. It's empowering the team to make the decision. Not, if I'm requesting something of you, I shouldn't actually have a right to tell you because you have to do it. Otherwise, I'll be saying to myself, well, do it your damn self type attitude. Actually, in fact, you need to trust and empower. We've got all these people here because they're talented, they know what they're doing. They're capable individuals. I will present my problem, and this is just reading waterfall, but I will not give you the solution because all too often people, particularly in more senior roles, not always, will be very good at giving you a problem but also trying to get the solution. And actually, in fact, you need to trust you and your guys to turn around and deliver the solution based on what the needs are of the organisation. And that's always painful. And some organisations are a lot better, and some are less great at doing that. But like you said, it's not about, because to them it's easy. How many times I've heard someone say, can't you build a website? Dead easy, isn't it? Because, you know, Joe round the corner, he can knock it up in Word or something like that. But actually, in fact, it's not as easy, and you have to trust those who work with you and work for you to make those decisions, because they're the experts within that domain. So, that, definitely an issue.
That's one of the issues. I think that's why you see a lot of people here.
Is it taking 100 hits a minute or is it taking one?
And that's something you're mindful of because you're considering everything. You're considering the elasticity, you're considering the scalability, you're considering actually what's the concurrency, you know, what do I turn my need to scale? Do I need to run my VM to 2 gigabyte VMs versus 32? Yeah, exactly. All those kind of things in place.
The argument is often.
They don't realise it has to be hosted on something physical, right?
Cheers. You let them take the initiative and say, right, okay, you made a mistake, we'll learn from it. We won't repeat it, you know. We're on that route, execution. And that's all that. So execution, as soon as people see execution, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. You take the risk. And that's the attitude. So let the individual take the risk, but by taking that risk, things fail. That's human nature. We'll learn from it. We'll prevent it from happening this time around. That's not what they don't believe.
So that iterative, not seeing work as learning, right? Because safety fair environment is a prerequisite to learn. You cannot take. I mean, and ignorance is a prerequisite for learning. Because if you knew the outcome in advance, there is no learning.
It does amaze me this morning. I read a really interesting article on the BBC about the banana struggles that have with banana crops being destroyed all over the world. This lady gave up her job in the city to go work in Mombasa, and she said it's really difficult how to do anything without a playbook. People want to be told explicitly, this is how you're doing it, this is when you're going to do it, and this is the solution. I mean, it's the conversation we're having now, which is people, irrelevant of Agile, still have this problem where we present to the experts the challenge, but we also give them the solution. But then what happens over time, it becomes almost like an addiction where you go to them now and say, right, I've got this problem, give me a solution. They go, oh, no. You tell us, because it's like you said, it's not about learning, it's not about failing fast and doing it safely, because then you obviously get blamed and everything else that comes from that. It's a dangerous place to be. Because
I mean, I'm not, when I say long, it's been almost a decade now, but my prior place were IBM and Volkswagen, which adopted a lot of this. I mean, Volkswagen was like practicing Scrum
Yeah.
development. And I saw a cultural shift when I came here, whereas it was